And joining us now is our newsmaker, Geetanjali Shree is with us, the first ever Indian author to win an International Booker for a translated work. Her book, as we said, Ret Samadhi or Tomb of Sand, won the International Booker in London last week. Congratulations, Geetanjali, on this huge achievement, and welcome to the news today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Big moment. How has this
you.
changed your life? It's less than a week since you won this award. How has it changed your life?
It doesn't feel like less than a week. It feels like forever. And I hope it has not changed my life forever, because at the moment I'm spinning like a top, like a lattu. And well, I know it's something wonderful, but it is extremely tiring, and it's in some ways not me. You know, a writer is a very private person, and suddenly to be all over the place and in so many public events is quite, I won't say traumatic, but it takes a lot of adjusting.
What was your first thought when you won this award, when you knew that you'd won this award?
Well, I must have been a bit dazed, because it took me several long seconds to understand that our book in my name had been announced. And the translator actually had to walk towards me and kind of shake me out of my reverie, and then I got up. My first thought, I mean, I don't think I could even really know. It didn't, I knew, I mean, all the shortlisted authors knew that it could happen to any one of us, but yet none of us must have really believed that it was going to happen to me, to any of them. So it just came as a wonderful, like I keep saying, a bolt from the blue, but a wonderful one.
What does it mean for not just you, but for Hindi literature to be recognized in this manner? Has, in your view, Hindi literature finally got a sense of its status globally, long due status?
Well, it's certain. I mean, there's certainly this happening means that the focus for the moment the light is shed on others, not only Hindi, I think South Asian language literature. So that is huge, and I'm really sort of humbled that I have become the medium for that. But on the other hand, this is just a moment, and I hope it doesn't remain just a hype and a hot moment and then everything dies down again. I think it's important to sustain this and follow it up with the continued interest and work towards discovering this new literature which is suddenly under the light.
You know, the reason I'm asking you this, Geetanjali, is that there's a sense that there is still a bias towards English writing, both in our country and indeed abroad, that eventually a book which had to be translated into English to get this recognition. In that sense, do you believe Hindi literature still is trapped in its inability to reach out to new audiences?
Well, again, I would say I would not single out just Hindi. I would say other South Asian language literatures. I think the problem is there is a bias, but it's also that English is the most accessible in today's world. English has the largest bit of resources, and it is center stage. So without even having a prejudice against other languages, quite easily a lot goes to English. So I think a special effort has to be made, and this is what this moment is saying to us. And I think we have to follow that up.
You know, therefore, if we look at the positive aspect, as you said, this is an important moment in that sense for Hindi literature. Does it open a new window of hope for Hindi writers who have often struggled in anonymity? Many of them have written wonderful works, but have never really got the recognition they deserved.
Well, certainly. I think it is certainly a moment of hope, and I'm sure, there will be greater interest from publishers, translators, and readers to go for this literature. But, and of course, I mean, this is a very vibrant literature which people, will only benefit from knowing. So I do think it's a moment of great hope.
You know, because Hindi newspapers, mass circulating. Hindi news channels, are watched far more than English news. What does Hindi publishing need to do in a way to break these barriers in a way, to get a wider audience for itself, in your view?
Well, I think translators have to be valued much more. and there has to be a good support system to, for translators so that we get good translations. But I do want to stress that it shouldn't become, just English on one side and the rest on the other. I think there really is need to translate into each other's language, and there should be this interest in, just in increasing this dialogue with many languages through translation.
I want to tell you that I picked up the book and I've started reading it, and it is really, it is serious literature, which sort of with the focus clearly on the characters. How difficult do you believe in this age where everything is here and now, where, this is the age of Instagram, how difficult do you believe it is to keep this tradition of serious writing alive? Do you believe that there is this space opening up to keep serious writing alive?
At one level, it is difficult today because it is about instant gratification and people not having time, to read, to sit down and seriously go through what looks like difficult literature. But on the other hand, I would like to believe that there are still people, who want to make that sort of time and will still go for that. And even this book, a lot of people have, initially even dreaded opening it because they thought they didn't have the time to read a book this fat. But and some who started felt, that it was, a bit flabbergasting. They felt a bit flabbergasted in the beginning and didn't feel they had the time and the patience for it. But there were many who just kept at it and felt very, very rewarded. And I think they're also giving a message to all the others.
How much of this book was, is drawn through personal, is there a personal experience that sort of, in a way, the characterization, the partition era that you reflect upon, how much of that is personal in a way?
There's always a personal element, but I think the very fact that it is fiction already means that it's not just personal. Many things come together to make a work. And, the fact that there's partition in the background of this book, and there's a whole section which is very much about partition. And partition is so much a part of our lives, especially in North India. So even though I have no direct personal experience and nobody in my family has a direct personal experience, I'm so much surrounded by it, surrounded by the stories, surrounded by other people's experience. And also, partition and everything that it stands for continues to play sometimes a very sinister role in our lives even now.
Growing up, Geetanjali, was there a writer you idolized or a book that is your favorite?
I wouldn't like to name one, but I've been asked this question so many times that I wonder what should I say. In recent times I would say Krishna Sopti. I think there's something in her work which is so inspiring. Just her sense of freedom and her sense of just going the way she wants to, and doing very, very powerful and different and wonderful things in all her works. So Krishna Sopti in recent times. And a book which is not necessarily a physical book, but I think a lot of us Indians live with it, is the Mahabharata. And I do think that it's something which has something in it for everybody all the time. So I think Mahabharata has really been work that has stayed with me.
I want to raise this final question. If I walk down the street into a Khan market or into a bookshop that you're there, do you hope to be instantly recognized? Arundhati Roy's life changed with the Booker. That's why I'm asking you. I spoke to a neighbor of yours who said, Geetanjali is a very private person. She's not the kind who's going to be mobbed. So if you enter a bookshop tomorrow and suddenly people recognize you, how will it change you?
Well, I think if it's happening within limits, then of course I'm going to enjoy it also. It's lovely to discover that there are people who are happy along with you, and it adds to my happiness. But if it became, that I'm going to be mobbed, then I think I am going to really, really hanker for my privacy and my cave again, and I'll try and run away.
But a final word for all those young aspiring writers in Hindi, in regional languages. Sometimes we just don't look at the efflorescence of languages in our country, many of whom have wonderful writers writing in their languages. What is your message to those young writers who will now look up to you and say, look, if Geetanjali could do it, maybe we could too?
Well, I'll say something which may or not make sense to people today who are so much on the social media and believe in publicizing themselves. I mean, who believe that it's necessary to do things to bring their work forward. I think if I have a message to give, it is, if you like to write, just keep writing and keep at it. And other things, if they have to happen, will happen by themselves.
I'm sure they will, Geetanjali. I hope you're resting well. How have you, you know, what is your way of, in a way, getting de-stressed from all these events, as you're saying, that have surrounded you post the award? What is your best stress buster?
Well, at the moment, I'm searching for that.
Okay, well, Geetanjali, as I said, it's been a delight to listen to you, and of course congratulations, because I think it has broken another barrier, another glass ceiling in a way has been broken by what you've achieved. So thank you very much for joining us here and for the award.
Thank you so much.